What's up, everyone? So today I want to do a bit of a Dokkan related discussion to a lot of the negativity surrounding global Dokkan right now. As you guys know, we have the recent thank you celebration happening on global Dokkan, and regardless to say, a lot of people have dubbed it the fuck you celebration.
Oh, God.
So people are not very happy. I got my boy Alex the Gaming Claw with me. What's up, bro?
Oh, I'm so ready to talk about this.
So, I would like to let everyone know, basically, I frequently will, kind of look for the pulse of the community. I'm always looking through Reddit. I'm looking through not only my own comment section, but everyone else's, seeing what people are tweeting about, etc. Specifically, I saw on Reddit a number of posts actually kind of appealing to us Dokkan YouTubers to actually kind of call Bandai out on a lot of these goings on and then just sort of give our thoughts. So I figured it would be good to make a video kind of addressing the criticisms of the community, but I do think a lot of the criticisms are maybe unfounded. Would you say that's fair?
I think it's definitely fair. And I think it's mostly based on the fact that there is just such a big comparison between the Japanese version of the game and the global version. And it's obviously one of our points that we were bringing up. But to talk about the first point, which is the all-day maintenance, that was definitely one of the biggest issues, and we spoke about this before we obviously started recording, and you spoke about how they handle Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta super well because they were letting people in waves, and that was a good way to keep the server stabilized. But legit, the servers were down today for yesterday for 12 hours or so.
Yeah, I believe it was something around that time frame.
That is a ridiculous amount of time for the servers to be down, and obviously I would imagine that they expected this amount of people to be on, but I don't see why they didn't do what they did last time with Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta and Omega, because and that's the thing, last time they had to handle two servers at the exact same time. They had JP, who obviously had Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta and Omega as well, and the same exact thing happened to Global, and they managed to stabilize that pretty well overall. But for some reason, when it came to this particular celebration, they kind of dropped the ball in many areas. And another one of the points that we are going to bring up is the banners. So I don't know why they made certain decisions that they did, but the all-day maintenance definitely was an issue, and the compensation that we got for that wasn't what some people expected, because we've got 20 stones for the maintenance, and I think we have had more stones or more compensation for mistakes or just longer maintenances, or shorter maintenances I should say. So I don't know why they gave us such a little amount of stones. I think at the very least, for the amount of time that the servers were down, a single multi-summon or a guaranteed SSR ticket would have been nice.
Yeah, I agree. At the very least, I think 50 stones would have been a good compensation, because, I do think a lot of the negativity is a little overblown, but the game, for real, was down basically the entire day. This is an event people have been going crazy for. Intelligence Gogeta.
7 months, right?
Yeah, a lot of us have hyped him up as, one of the best units, ever in Dokkan. So people are super excited to pull for him. And I understand the frustration with the game not being playable the whole day. Now, okay, so Alex, you did bring up the Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta banner. And specifically, guys, what they did with that was, I believe, a few hours ahead of time, they announced that they would put the game into maintenance at that time. So, when the Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta banner dropped on both versions of the game were in maintenance. And what they did was they slowly would stagger logins, let people back into the game, so that way, at 1 p.m. on the dot, everyone is not spamming the summon button, crashing the servers everywhere, which is what happened yesterday.
Yeah, and I think that's definitely one of the biggest issues that the game has always had, so I think people expect it at this point, but they have shown that they can handle stuff like that well, but I don't know why they didn't do it this time round, which is kind of annoying, because the servers were, like I said, the servers were down for a ridiculous amount of time when they shouldn't have been, because I think this is legit the longest time that the servers have been down for a Dokkan event. I don't even think it was this bad for what are servers even down for Gogeta? Just the regular STR one? I don't think they were.
I don't know. I can't, that I can't remember.
Honestly, I don't think they were. So, you can argue that there weren't as many players playing the game back then. Obviously, the player base increases every single day, but I think servers are still an issue that still need to be worked on, despite the size of the company. But
one thing too that's important is it's not global, like, specific. Like when the Super Saiyan 4s dropped on JP, it was a nightmare the entire month.
Yeah, remember when we got the agility and STR orbs for like coming number 1 in the store? And
yes,
if you were to try to max out a unit with the orbs, it will legit take for like 15 seconds at the very least to do a single area, or a single pod, or orb, whatever you want to call it. So there have been instances like that on the Japanese version of the game as well, but it seems to be a bit more frequent of global. And it's not to say that global does these things bad the majority of the time, because a good example of global executing these banners and, you know, the whole maintenance thing well is with the Vegito Blue and Rose banners, because you were guaranteed tickets per multi-summon there, and that was a very good way of executing it. But when it comes to this particular celebration, it's not as good as it potentially could have been, because when you take a look at a ticket banner that was released alongside Vegito Blue and Rose, you could legit get so, like, the amount of tickets that you could get for those particular banners was insane, and you were guaranteed to get a particular amount. And it's not to say that you're not necessarily guaranteed to get a particular amount on these ones, but I definitely think it was executed a bit better on that banner in particular. And of course, another issue that we were going to bring up is the fact that, well, I kind of touched on it earlier, is the shafted Gogeta banner. And I don't know why they decided to do this, because of course they, on the Japanese version of the game, and here is where the issues do start to arise. On the Japanese version of the game, they separated the heroes and villains, but for some reason, on global, they decided to mix the villains and the heroes up. But I think they did that so that people are more willing to go for Janemba, because you have certain units on the Janemba banner that would normally be on heroes that people would want to go for. For example, if Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta and such were on the Gogeta banner, people most likely would not go for Janemba, because Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, pardon me, is one of the most popular characters in the game, and he hasn't been back yet. It makes sense for people to want him. Obviously, if you didn't pull him the first time round, you want to get him now. But if you want him, you can't go for both Super Gogeta and Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. You need to go for Super Janemba first if you want Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, or Super Gogeta. So you essentially, to get both units, you have to summon on both banners, which again, you have to keep in mind that this is a business. They are clearly here to just make money, and I definitely want to reiterate that point. So they are going to be making these business decisions to ensure that they are going to be getting the most out of this. And I am going to admit it that these banners are easily aimed at whales, because the way that it's set up is that I believe you need to go up to like step 9, and then between 9 and 11, and it repeats itself, so that you can get the several tickets. And it's clearly aimed at whales, definitely not for players that don't pay. And I think that's one of the biggest issues, because I think that's actually going back to the Vegito Blue and Rose banner. You were able to get tickets before those steps, right?
Yeah, I think, like, it might have started at, like, multi-summon 5, but I believe at the time, like, that they were going with, like, the 20, 30, 40, 50. Yeah. And the other thing, too, is it didn't have the stupid random ticket stuff. I'm not a fan of that whatsoever.
It was annoying.
The random? Yeah, the random amount of tickets? Come on.
I don't know why this is becoming a frequent thing, but the fact that they, honestly, it was actually so bait. The fact that they were giving away, like, a multi-summon, essentially, that's what they advertised it as. A multi-summon for 10 stones. It's like, at first glance, it seems like it's a pretty good deal, right? But then you realise, oh wait, you get 3 units. Like, yeah, how does that work? And they don't even say that. Well, I would imagine that they do in the news, but not many people read it. So they advertise this banner, so it's 10 stones for 3 units, so technically you are saving 5 stones. But at the same time, they could have just given you the entire multi. So a few decisions like that, I would imagine, definitely annoyed a few people. It definitely would have been a bit better for the players that don't pay as much if you just simply gave them the entire multi and a few tickets at the very least. And I think that, honestly, they should they should have given at least one more guaranteed SSR ticket. I believe that you can get a total of 2 or 3 from the upcoming missions. But at the same time, I don't think that's enough to make up for the fact that the maintenance lasted for such a long period of time. But then again, there are a few things that I feel were blown out of proportion, if you know what I mean.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And
now, okay,
I don't know if you want to touch on that.
Yeah. So I do want to say that I do think complaints about the Gogeta banner are definitely
Warranted.
founded.
Yeah.
Because, like, especially, like, see, it's very difficult to compare it directly to JP Dokkan. Because, like, if we didn't know about JP Dokkan, like, we wouldn't say, like, oh,
That's
this
the biggest
banner's
issue.
bad or this banner's bad. Yeah. But at the same time, like, they both are called Dokkan. It's like comparing the Dark Knight to the Dark Knight Rises. It's like, it's difficult to do that, but they're both freaking called the Dark Knight. So, like, we kind of do need to kind of, you know, view that in a prism. Now, specifically, it's Buhan and Golden Frieza.
Yikes.
Did not need to be on that banner. They could have put better units. I
Vegito
don't
Blue.
see... Yes, Vegito Blue, Super Saiyan 4 Goku. If they didn't want to do Tech Angel Goku, I understand that he just came out. But there's no reason that Super Saiyan 4 Goku or Vegeta couldn't have been on there.
Yeah, 100%. And I feel like that was definitely the biggest mess up. If you're going to release these units, at least make it so that with the amount of stones that people spend and limited amount that they got, at least make it so that you can get multiple of the units that are sought after, which is not what they did. The majority of them were on the Janemba banner, obviously because the majority of the players weren't going to summon for him. A lot of
Right.
the player base are going to summon for Super Gogeta because he's easily the most popular, like the more popular character of the two. So what they did is they put the units that most people probably wanted on the banner that they didn't want to summon the most. And that's definitely one of the issues with this, and you brought it up as well. I think the biggest spark, so to speak, for the majority of the complaints is the fact that we do compare it to the Japanese version of the game, and we saw this around a week ago with the whole 300 stone thing. On the Japanese version of the game, they got 300 stones because of the mess up that happened there, and a lot of people were wondering why they didn't do the same for global. And you have to realize that there was
Do you want to briefly, like, kind of briefly summarize what happened on JP? Because people kind of are getting the misinterpretation that the events are very similar, and they're really not.
They really are, and like there was legit no banners. Like, that has never happened. There were no banners whatsoever for several hours, and that was a massive mistake. So it kind of warranted that amount of compensation. But what happened on global, it was just a simple maintenance, and I know that may seem like a lot to some people, but it was just a maintenance. We did end up getting compensation, which I think should have been a bit more, but overall, in comparison to what happened to JP, it definitely doesn't warrant 300 stones. Like I said, the banners legit weren't there. It was a mistake in the coding, and they addressed that. They actually showed the code itself, which surprised a lot of people.
Specifically, the one thing too is that, like, okay, so they had just updated the app to 3.7.1 or something like that.
Yeah.
And I guess there was some kind of mistake in their code where there was, like, memory leaking going on, and it was causing character lists to be incorrectly displayed.
And even that caused a lot of, like, controversy.
Yeah, that's the thing. So, like, a lot of Japanese whales who had, you know, maybe bad luck on specific banners or something would notice, oh, LR Gohan is not in my summon listing right here when it is there for someone else. So they started spamming the official Twitter. You know, eventually it became such a big deal that the Japanese Yahoo Finance caught wind of it and made articles on it. And basically it blew up into a huge thing where, like, you know, depending on the way things gone, like, the game, you know, was at the risk of dying. People thought it was actually rigged. So this 300 stones was like a show of good faith, along with them actually releasing their code, which is something no one ever thought they would have done.
Yeah, it was definitely a good move on Bandai. I respect it. Obviously, again, I do think it was another thing that was blown out of proportion. But overall, I think they handled the situation well. But when it comes to global, again, I think the biggest issue is that people are constantly trying to compare both versions to each other, and that's a thing that you shouldn't necessarily do because they are two completely different games, in my opinion, even though, like I said, they are both technically Dokkan. And there are multiple examples of this. We have the Otherworld tournament stuff like Super Kaiken, Goku, and Pikkon. We have the buff Goku Black, which is a thing that JP is never going to get. And at the same time, they have stuff like Dragon Ball Heroes. You know, there are multiple things that one version does better at times, and obviously it tends to mix. Basically, it's a fight against each other. It's like kind of like Goku and Vegeta. One's ahead for a while, and then the other's like, yeah, even though it hasn't happened much with Vegeta recently. But the point is, it tends to switch between both versions. And you see me say this on Twitter like a ton as a joke. Oh yeah, Global's the go, JP's the go, because it just depends on what is hype on either version, and both versions do certain things better than the other in particular situations. For example, JP didn't get an LR election. Granted, we haven't seen Vegito Blue yet, but we are for sure going to see him at some point.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. Right now, it's, Global sucks ass, JP's the go, F Global. But in 2 weeks, when LR Vegito Blue drops in 2 weeks and he's the best unit in the game, yeah, that's what's going to happen.
And the thing is, we don't even know if JP's going to get him. Like, can you imagine if he is global exclusive? Like, that's instantly one-upping JP by miles, you know? A global exclusive legendary rare, like, come on now. And that's not, like, that doesn't exempt the global version from criticism by any means. You can go ahead and criticize global for all you like if the criticism is valid. And that's one thing that a lot of people did bring up. There was a lot of good criticism and there was a lot of bad criticism. I think there was definitely a few people overreacting over certain things, but I think that just mostly comes down to the fact that they didn't necessarily understand the situation completely, which is completely fair, because in most situations you don't know the full story until obviously the end of the whole fiasco, so to speak. And I think you wanted to touch on the Reddit post as well, and that was one of the biggest issues.
Yeah, that's kind of the last thing we can kind of address here is, so like there were several posts that popped up on the Reddit, basically, I guess you could kind of say calling out us YouTubers basically to, stop being, sellouts to Bandai or in bed with Bandai and actually stand against them. And it's like, we have made videos decrying like Pilaf Shrove, right? Like all of us made a video saying, Scamco with the Pilaf Shrove, because it's ridiculous. It's it's beyond belief how much of a scam it is.
Yeah, exactly. I will acknowledge the fact that it's 100% a rip-off. I don't think that you should do it unless you are, like, even if you are a mega whale, it's ridiculously overpriced. But the reason why something like that isn't on the Japanese version of the game is because they do have certain laws against that. It's not just because they don't want more money. They would 100% do that on JP if they could. But there are certain laws in Japan that forbids them from doing something like this, whereas in the global version it's perfectly fine. But yeah, back to the whole YouTuber thing.
Yeah, and here's the thing, guys. Rhyme Style did actually take these concerns directly to Bandai themselves. And how did they respond? By releasing an even worse one than before. So Rhyme is like the one person who probably, like, he actually, could have connections at Bandai or talks to people at Bandai. And he did do that, and they did not listen. Like, we do not have sway over Bandai.
You can legit look at his tweets, and he says that he tried talking to them, and they didn't do anything about it. And that's just the way that it is. Like, you could tell all of us, let's just say that we did, okay? Let's say that we all stopped summoning, and we all stopped supporting the game. It would make a difference, because we're not even 1% of the people that spend on this game.
Exactly.
Like, you think Dino's a whale? You think Nano's a whale? Take a look at some of the JP guys. They have 100% units in the first day.
Yep. Like, not only that, they have LR Gohan at LR 100%. They have his TUR at 100%. They have his SSR version at 100%.
Like,
that
there
is
no
true
comparison.
whaling.
And it's a big practice in Japan. These, like, legit, some of these people, legit, that's the main thing that they do. And it's more of a collection game for them than anything. And they put a ton of money into games like this just because of how popular they are. And for us, it's like a hobby, right? Obviously. And like, we just want to play the game, have fun with it. When it comes to the JP players, we do not compare in the slightest. Let's say that the top 1% of players stop summoning, maybe Bandai would start to see a bit of an issue because they would definitely see a drastic increase in their income. Well, I say drastic, but
I think so. I think so. Because I think the 1% dwarfs the other 99%.
Yeah, 100%. They would see a massive difference in, well, again, I say massive, but they would see a difference in their currency, the point I'm trying to make. But,
for sure.
Like, again, in comparison to the money that the global version puts in, it doesn't even match, to be honest. And that's the thing, guys. Like, this, okay, so if everyone would stop buying stones, I don't think that would affect things enough to where they would make a difference. But this could lead us to one thing that I think can make a difference. If you are dissatisfied with the global version of Dokkan, there's a very easy way you could show that frustration. Go to the Google Play Store, go to the iOS App Store, and leave a 1-star rating and maybe voice your concerns. I do think this is a way that could reach Bandai's ears and actually could cause them to have second thoughts. I think that, like, moving forward, if y'all really want your concerns addressed, I think that might be the best solution. I definitely agree with that, and that's probably one of the best ways to actually get them to notice. It's just something that is obviously quite noticeable. They're obviously going to be like, oh, okay, so the ratings are quite down, so let's go ahead and address a few of these issues. So I definitely think that's probably the best way to get the point across. There have been stuff like petitions in the past and such, which obviously didn't make a difference, unfortunately.
I don't think petitions will have any effect.
Yeah, they won't have any effects. They have to, like... And JP controls everything. They, like, have absolutely total control of both versions of the game. And if, like, the one version that they would for sure keep alive if something was to happen is the Japanese version, just because most of their income is from that. But you could argue that JP is sort of a tester for the global version, but let's not get into that for now. But overall, if you want to voice your concerns, go ahead and give us a 1-star rating and see if that makes any difference. I honestly am curious to see if that's going to do anything. So I definitely think they will address a few things. But again, the US side of Bandai can't do anything about it. It all goes back to JP. And one thing I do want to point out is that the reviews do reset with every single update. So definitely voice your concerns as soon as you can, just so that it gets to them relatively soon. But I'm definitely curious to see how they respond to that.
Yeah, so I feel as though we basically covered everything,
We watched everything. So we have the all-day maintenance. I think the compensation should have been better, easily. The Gogeta banner, okay, without a doubt, that was trash, okay? I think we can say that that was executed poorly. Again, for Wales, it wasn't that much of an issue. I'm going to definitely point that out. Step banner aimed towards Wales, yep. Reddit calling out YouTubers. I think that people need to realise that we legit have no say in it, and you saw how many of us made videos on the whole Pilaf Trove thing. It was extremely stupid on their part, but the reason they did it is because Global doesn't have the exact same laws. I think extremely overpriced, and if they are going to have it at that price, at the very least, give you way more orbs. And
yeah, easily.
Yeah, but like, it doesn't matter how much we talk about doing these things, because as long as Bandai keep making money, it's not going to be an issue to them. So yeah, of course, you have the lowering rate of app, which I think could potentially be a good solution, and it would put more of our opinions across. And I think that's pretty much it.
All right, then. Well, guys, leave your comments. Let us know what you thought of all this global versus JP stuff. You know, what are your thoughts on global moving forward? Definitely let us know. And Alex, bro, thanks for coming on and talking about all this nonsense.
No, and just as a final point, I think both versions have good and bad about them. But overall, I think that you should just enjoy the game as much as you can for what it is. It's not going to be perfect. One version may do a few things better than the other. But I think the biggest thing that could cause you problems is comparing both versions and expecting certain things for one when the other does something in particular. So if JP is this far ahead, but don't expect a global version to do things the exact same way.
Yeah, for sure.
Alright, well, thank you for having me on, bro.
Yeah, no problem. Guys, again, Let us know what you think. Tell us, give us your thoughts and everything. Thanks for watching, and later.
See ya.